It came around the corner and smashed the car and then left. You expect me to believe that? She slapped James's cheek. You're nothing but a liar.
Within 2 days, Natalia had finished the exit paperwork from the Philly group, polished her resume, and posted it online. Her hard work paid off. Not long after it had been posted, the Robster Corporation called her to come in for an interview. On the day of the interview, Frazer insisted on accompanying Natalia to the corporate headquarters. They had timed it so that they arrived early. When he followed her into the building, she seemed to glare at him. I was in such a good mood this morning, she thought, and he had to ruin it. What are you doing? She asked. You can't follow me in. Look at you. You're not dressed professionally. And if they see you, it's gonna make me look bad. Do you even know where we are? This job means a lot to me. I just saw that you were nervous, so I wanted to come along and cheer you up, he explained. I was one of the Philly group's top salespeople, she said. Why would I be nervous? Don't follow me. And you might want to look for a job yourself. You can't just sit at home. Frazer already knew what the outcome of the interview would be, so he didn't force the issue. I'll wait here by the door for you then, he said cheerfully. Natalia turned and walked away, her high heels clicking on the marble. Despite what she had told Frazer, her heart was in her throat as she entered the lobby. Oh, I might be a top seller, she thought, but it's all relative to the size of the company. In a big corporation like Robster, being a top seller from a small company might not mean very much. She took a deep breath as she entered the elevator, and she held her hand steady as she pressed the button for the 18th floor. She gave herself a little shake and tried to radiate confidence as she exited the elevator, but she was shocked to see all the applicants in line ahead of her. Apparently, she wasn't the only job seeker who had gotten there early. 40 minutes later, she nervously entered the interview room. She looked to the front of the room, where 2 men and 1 woman sat. The woman looked familiar, but Natalia couldn't immediately remember her. Natalia could tell from the way the woman held herself and her position in the middle of the table that she was the decision-maker of the group. Placing her resume on the table, she took her seat and smiled at the interviewers. She tried to put up a picture of a confident, professional salesperson. The female interviewer sneered, glanced at Natalia's resume, and tossed it to the side. "You're not the right fit," she said. "Next." The other 2 interviewers looked at the woman, surprised. This candidate has stronger skills than 90% of the others we've interviewed, one thought. How could Miss McKenzie eliminate her just like that? Not that we can argue with someone in Miss McKenzie's position. Natalia was also stunned. May I ask why? She asked. The female interviewer stood up, walked around the table, and stood directly in front of Natalia. You don't remember me, do you? She asked. We went to school together? That was enough to jog Natalia's memory. Karina McKenzie, right? We shared a dorm room. Karina smiled coldly at her. That's right. I bet you never thought you would run into me here, did you? I don't understand, Natalia said. Did I do something to offend you? Karina leaned down and said in a low voice, Natalia, I've hated you ever since I met you. I'm obviously from a better family than you, but for some reason, all the boys wanted you instead. You always seemed to think you were better than me. She looked straight at Natalia, eyes full of hatred. Imagine my delight when I saw you walk in, wanting something from me. Well, as long as I'm here, you'll never have a job with this company. Karina spoke rudely. Natalia was speechless as Karina straightened up and said, Now, get out of here. Her voice was loud enough for everyone in the room and the outside hallway to hear. Karina's mocking made Natalia feel ashamed. Why do I have to suffer such humiliation? My life is awful, she thought. I wish someone would help me. As Frazer's image flashed through her mind, she thought, that useless husband of mine sold 100 properties due to luck, but he still lost his job. She was trudging toward the door when Frazer walked over angrily and grabbed her hand. Natalia, why did you leave? She shook her head, not wanting to say anything. Frazer was furious. He could see that she was distraught. His voice wasn't quiet, and it attracted the attention of the other interviewees. Natalia, you were the Philly Group's top salesperson. Although it wasn't a good company, they would never have achieved anything without you. Don't forget that you managed to become sales director there, so don't let anyone put you down. Her husband seemed able to give her a little strength. Her dull eyes regained some of their sparkle, and her sad face broke into a smile. Don't give up on everything that you've achieved, he said. Karina saw them talking, and in front of all the interviewees, she shouted, I'll say this in front of everybody today. As long as I'm here, you'll never get a job at the Robster Corporation. The other interviewers were filled with indignation. They stared at Karina hatefully while Frazer smiled faintly. A loud and clear voice rang out from the back of the room. In that case, you can go. When the people there saw who it was, they started chattering. It's Mr. Wilson's personal assistant, Darren Shaw, someone said. He's just an assistant. Yet he dares to offend a member of the McKinsey family? Another voice sounded. Don't be fooled. Darren represents Mr. Wilson. Many of the decisions made by the upper echelons are delivered by him. It's going to be a good show, a third voice echoed at the back of the room. When Karina saw it was Darren, she became fearful, and her face turned pale. Even though she had relied on her family's connections to reach the top, the person in front of her was an influential figure. She wiped the arrogant expression from her face as she asked, Mr. Shaw, what did you just say? I said that you can go now. Why? Darren looked around and gave Frazer a reassuring look. He then roared. Robster is a public company and an equal opportunity employer. We aim to provide the best working environment for every talented person. Therefore, I have to announce that you will be stepping down from your position as personnel manager. Her legs became weak as she stared at him, dumbstruck, and said, You want to fire me? Aren't you afraid that my family will end their collaboration with Robster? You think too highly of yourself, Miss McKinsey. Mr. Wilson is extremely disappointed with your performance. You need to think about how to explain to your father why you got fired. Darren spoke in an authoritative tone. Darren picked up the resume from the floor and walked up to Natalia. I'm so sorry. This is our company's fault, and I hope you can forgive us. I'm happy to announce that you've been accepted. Natalia, you wait. The worst will come, hissed Karina threateningly. She didn't dare to get annoyed at Darren, so she could only aim her vitriol at Natalia. When she angrily left the room, all the candidates burst into thunderous applause. That Darren has some skills, Frazer thought. Not only did he solve my wife's problem, he even helped improve the company's reputation. Miss Laplace, if you're happy to accept our offer, you can go to the HR department to fill out the forms and officially start work today, Darren said. After Darren left, Natalia excitedly raised her hands high in the air and threw herself into Frazer's arms. Then, she realized something was wrong, and her expression changed. She looked at Frazer and said, You've changed. Just now you praised me in front of all these people. I just wanted to make you feel better, he explained. I'm in a good mood today, so let's go out and eat tonight and celebrate when I get off work. You go and reserve a table, and I'll ask Sheila to join us, she said chirpily. All right, no problem. Frazer knew he had achieved his goal in the building and had nothing left to do there, so he gladly left and booked a table in one of her favorite restaurants.
To watch the full episode, install the Pocket FM app